Hello, warriors. This is Jody LaDolce with warriorsrise.net. Today, I have on an amazing hero. As you know, we stand with veterans and we stand for what they've lived through, what they go through. We want the world to know just how special that 1% is. So today I have Staff Sergeant retired Shilo Harris. He has an amazing story from tragedy to triumph, which is what we believe in. And brother, I just want to let you go free and welcome you and let you tell your story because I couldn't do it justice.
Well, Jody, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. And second, I don't know if you want to give me free reins. I might just ramble on and
Go
nobody know
ahead.
what the heck I'm talking about. I am glad to be on your show. And of course, if I've said my story a few times, so
Right.
but I would love to hear your feedback, and of course, your listeners. I would love to hear their feedback. They're
Yeah.
welcome to hit me up on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. But I'm just gonna warn everybody, I'm not great at social media. I I could probably do a lot more if I knew how to do social media, but I don't know. It's just it's
I
not
get
that
bored.
I'm old fashioned. I guess
Yeah.
I'm not there yet,
Right. I
but
get
yeah,
bored
it
with
is
it.
what
I'm
it
like, it's just a tool right now. I like face to face.
Right.
So
Well, yeah, I guess in a way that's me too. I like the face to face, but on
yeah.
top of it, is I mean, I know that people enjoy sharing things on social media, and I do too, to show moments that I'm proud of and show off my family or vacations or something like that. But, it's like, I don't know, I feel like social media is more like it doesn't tell the whole story sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but it's entertainment. I see it as entertainment. I don't think people should air out their dirty laundry on there.
I don't either.
But yeah, it's a form of entertainment, and
Yeah.
yeah, I get sucked up in it sometimes, but more
Yeah.
on the viewing side.
Oh, I laugh too because you get people who get internet, I'll call it strength. I won't use any terms that I shouldn't use, but internet strength to tell people off and do all this stuff. If they were in your face, they'd never do it. And then judgment. So to me, it's just I like to turn it around and use it as a tool for good, to bring truth and to bring Christ and help people to see that there's hope in the world. So
I'm gonna have to remember who said this quote, but it was either a former president or some wise person from back in the day when they said it's none of your business what other people think about you. And I think that's one of the a really true and accurate statement. I know that some people probably worry about what other people think about them, but do you really want to know?
right.
And their judgment or what they may be feeling at that moment doesn't necessarily mean how they're going to view you in the future. So
Right.
it's like some moments are fleeting, and I think that's another thing. Is I don't like to put too much on social media except for the good stuff and things that I want to highlight, because that's what people should know. That's what I would want people to know.
Right.
But, obviously we all face challenges, and that's something that you and I are going to talk about today is some of the challenges that I've been faced with, but been able to overcome.
Right.
And, I think one of the very first things that I had to do in my life, and even here recently, I've had to reevaluate some of the decisions that I've made in my life. And I
Mm.
have to learn to forgive myself for my
Yes.
past, no matter how bad it is and how dark it is.
Right.
We all have to learn to forgive ourselves.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that you may have things in your past that you're embarrassed about, and
Mhm.
things that are dark and things that we wished we couldn't remember. But mine obviously one of the biggest ones happened on the battlefield. When I lost three of my friends.
Mhm.
Now, of course, we'll build up to that story, but that's the direction that we're leading toward. But the key message right here, I think, is you have to learn to forgive yourself.
Yes, amen. Yeah, and that's something that, you make decisions, sometimes I've been going through that just recently because I bought into something that I thought was glorifying God and later found out it was actually people's pride that were being prepped up, and I was like, "How did I fall for that? How did I just" Ugh. So I've had a hard time stumbling over letting it go and forgiving myself for not seeing it, but the Lord has made it clear, now get busy.
Uh,
So yeah.
So,
So
Jody, did you say you served in the military?
Yes, I was a Marine Corps. In the Marine Corps, I served as a 4421 legal services specialist. I was graduated with honors out of boot camp, out of schools battalion, and had just received my meritorious promotion to corporal when I was injured, what I call with friendly fire. Another Marine that I had ended up marrying, who was physically abusive, shoved a bunch of my ribs forward, and on my record it says damage to spine, probably permanent, though I'm still in a fight with the VA for full compensation.
Oh,
I struggled through my 30s and, and all that as I was growing and aging with severe back issues and everything. But I tried to, Marines, we're nuts, tried to function normal. And eventually one day everything just exploded and I have rods and infusions and I couldn't walk. I had to learn to walk again. I was in the hospital for 6 weeks, an old folks home with 80-year-olds going past me. Like, wait, help me keep up with you, and learning to do things with a grabber. And it was insane. And the Lord led me from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane to nothing. I've had 14 surgeries and yeah, so it's been a challenge for me myself. And that's why I stand with veterans. I'm part of the DAV, AMVETS, Marine Corps League, and just am honored to be part of and know people like you and people who've served. And I thank you for your service. I never saw a battlefield outside of that. And but I have very good friends. Army, actually, she was in Iraq, and her Humvee got hit by an IED, and she was the only survivor. I think there was one other captain, but he just left on his own. He took himself out, and that was devastating. He was the last one. So we live this every day. This isn't something that we know what this means. So, and she just had to have a bunch of operations, and I believe that some of the stuff they put in our bodies with all those Vax guns. You know what I'm talking about?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
body armor. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
exactly. I think I think some of that stuff gets in us too and makes us sick. So, it's been incredible. It's been quite a journey, but I thank God for you. And I want to say something, if you don't mind. I just love your wife.
Oh
She
yeah,
sent me
she's
all this
adorable.
stuff, and I saw her in her picture. She's gorgeous, by the way, and just what a hero she is as well. Because you know, people don't know when we all come back, especially you guys who've seen the fire. And they don't understand what we're looking at. And when you
Yeah.
come home and you have full support and full love and nothing's changed, everybody's 100% in for you, that brings healing. It's why we have Fisher houses by the VA hospitals. So I just, you got to give her my love and tell her God bless her because she's a hero too. So,
Um,
but I wanted to go ahead and let you share your story and
Oh, no, I say, well, first, I want to say thank you so much for your service.
thank you.
Even though you say you didn't see the battlefield, when you join the military, a lot of people may, or some people may not realize this, but when you join the military, regardless of what your job is going to be, you're saying that you're willing to, sacrifice your time, your life potentially to serve your nation.
Right.
And when you put on that uniform, there's a certain obligation that comes with that. And if they say you're going, guess what? Most of the time you're going to go. 99% of the time you're
Yeah,
loading up and going
yeah,
wherever they tell you to go.
yeah. Get your
And that
go
was
back.
exactly. So I say thank you again so much for
You.
your service to our nation, and thank you for your sacrifice. And I'm sorry to hear that you've had to battle the VA, but that's actually another good conversation that if you want, we can touch on it right now while it's still fresh on everybody's mind. There are still some service members, and I hear a story like yours. There's a clear case of hey, I got injured in the military, do these services, and that sort of thing. By far, I have to say, although there are these issues like what you're facing, we're
Mhm.
still blessed as a nation. Our service members still have a lot of opportunities that other nations don't.
Right.
There's a lot of other service members out there that may not even, and I'm talking about U.S. soldiers now, but overseas, some of those countries, they don't take care of their service members after they go to combat, or if they come back with PTSD, whatever the case is. They don't have that kind of structure the way that we do. So I still see our nation as a blessing. but the fight still remains that, if
Mhm.
they say you're due these services, either we thank you for your service, then that's what you should get.
Right,
Now, when I went in, now imagine this, with all these scars and, amputations and,
right,
the clear, I'm in front of my rater, the person, that does so does this really hurt on a scale of
right,
1 to 10,
yeah,
that sort of thing. And I'm getting ready to separate out of the military.
boy,
And, I have a very long list of injuries and stuff
yeah,
that was related to all of this.
right,
And almost every time he would ask me about one of the items, he'd say, "So on a scale of 1 to 10," and then he'd look at me and go, "Really?" And I said, "Sir," I said, "let me just ask one thing." I said, "Do you have to say that every time?" I
right,
said, "Because," I said, "first of all," I said, "I have no reason to lie. If I'm not
right,
100%, as far as your paperwork is concerned," I said,
right,
"then I don't know who is." I said, "I
right,
have no reason to lie about my injuries." So I
right,
said, "How about we just move this thing along?" And he looked at me kinda like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, I get it now." And
yeah,
he didn't ask me, "Are you sure?" after
yeah.
that.
Yeah. You know what's funny is they kept trying to get me to bend certain ways to prove that my back hurts or not. I'm like, "Seriously? You serious?" I mean, it was annoying. So I actually get exactly what you're talking about. Like, "Does it hurt to go this way?" "Yeah." There's spine damage in there. And then the PTSD, because I was suffocated, I had a, weapon put to my face, a whole bunch of different things, and it does cause reactions. And so that they're like, okay, we'll do that for you, but the injury we still have to fight you on that one. So they're still fighting on the injury that was caused by the behaviors. It's unbelievable, the red tape sometimes. And this is why I do what I do with veterans as a DAV, and vets, all that, because so going back to what we were saying, that what I do is try to teach veterans what I didn't know when I got out. I was young, I was in my 20s. I had no idea to go to the VA. I had no idea to fight for myself, that there was a DAV service officer that could help me fight for my rights as a veteran for the injuries I had. I didn't even know it was in my file, damage to spine, probably permanent. And I didn't know upon separation that they gave me a percentage. I've never collected any of that money. I did not know I was given a percentage. And when I called the Marines, when I found out that I had all these years of money that I should have been collecting, they said it's too late. So, yeah,
What?
so I've been going through it myself, and I love the Corps. Trust me, I know what it took from 12 weeks of boot camp as a woman, then 12 weeks of training as in schools battalion, and then all the training afterward. And after the injury, I've never been the same. I was what we call stat. I was like in shape. I could do everything and anything. And to have your whole life spun around, it's just incredible. And so I want to help younger people know it's here. And I just had a situation with a friend's son back from the Navy. He was feeling sick. I said, you have to take your DD 214 and go to the VA. And do I have to? Do I have to? And wouldn't you know, he walked into a subway station, had something happen to him, and just dropped dead right in the subway. And I cried over this man because I had him on the phone. What if I could have got him in? What if I said to him, let me take you? Come on, just come. So, and he was only in his 30s. Shilo, that just messes me up. I'm 59. He was in his 30s. So we want people to know, veterans to know, fight for yourself. So
To be honest, I didn't know that those benefits expired like that, after so
yeah,
long. And, the reason I say that is because my stepbrother literally just finally got all of his stuff situated.
wow,
And he got a lot of back pay, which was, I mean, a true blessing for him because while he was in the Gulf War,
yeah,
he caught an illness over there that caused him to have a pacemaker put into his heart when he
wow,
was like 20 something years old.
wow,
And so, anyway, he's been fighting all of these health issues over the years because of things that whatever chemicals or something they had used that made him like really, really sick.
yeah,
And anyway, they kept denying him, and
mhm,
finally, he finally got it. But I mean, this was just recently, and we're talking about the Gulf War, so I don't know how long that was. Like, it was in the '90s,
Right.
right?
90s, I
90, early
believe.
'90s.
After I got out, yeah. So I had
Yeah,
friends
I'm pretty
going,
sure it was the early '90s when the Gulf War happened, and so he recently, just recently, got all his benefits taken care of.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, and that was actually something that I wanted to touch on, and I forgot to a moment ago, is people usually ask me because I'm out there in the public, I do the motivational speaking, I have my book,
Right.
working on a movie. I got all these different little projects that I've been working on just
Right.
to advocate for veterans, and then, of course, hopefully encourage other people, whether they're military or not,
Right.
to know that they can overcome some of the greatest challenges in their life. Well, with
Amen.
all that said, when it comes to the VA or even your medical doctors, or when you go to the hospital or medical clinic, you have to be the squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
My father, he was so stoic about not wanting to share his aches and pains and stuff like that. But he'd be
Right.
so sick, or he'd be so hurt, and then he'd go to the doctor, and they'd be like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, not much. And I'm like, "But you
There
just
you
told
go.
me you were on your deathbed." I'm like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah, that's
So
it. I have a bad habit with that myself. It's pride, and I've got to fight that pride. Yeah. Yeah. I
we
was,
have to be able
yeah,
to advocate for ourselves, and that's
right.
where, I really wanted to come in and talk about that. And what you're doing, you help advocate with other people, for other people, through the DAB, and that's extremely powerful. And
Yeah.
again, thank you.
Yeah.
Because there's some veterans that don't know how to get it done. Some veterans don't even know how to say it or where to go to get these benefits.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's
Yeah.
very important.
That's what drove me. Is I met a wonderful man, and he's the one who started the what they call the Operation Gift Card. And every month we go down to Walter Reed and we see some of the worst cases. And these men, we go in and I wear my DAV uniform with my Marine Corps stuff, and they'll try to stand up. I met a gentleman who had no arms, uh, one leg, and he was in a wheelchair. I'm sorry, he did have a prosthetic arm, and he was a captain. And when I walked over to him, I tried to bless him, and he's like, "No, give that to my men. Give that to my men. They're in the rooms." And he said, "Let me stand up and salute you." I was like, "Sir, you don't, you know." I was they discharged me on Lance Corporal because I didn't hold the corporal with any length of time by the time they discharged me, and
Mm,
but these men, I mean, like heroes like you, what they've been through and what we see, we go in. I saw one guy with no arms and legs exercising in the PT room and laughing it up and having a ball. I mean,
yeah.
I get to play with the dogs that I'm telling you, it's just an amazing, amazing that 1% of society, those of us who serve, people don't understand. And I'll tell you what, Shiloh, I stand up for the truth now because, first of all, I serve Christ. Second of all, this world is a little bit on the crazy side. You're seeing the definite split between evil and good, in government, in society, everywhere. And I would die for this country, even still. I would die for my family, even still. Whatever it takes to make sure that the future of this country is still one nation under God, indivisible, is what I'll stand for. And so, and that's all that really matters, and to me, because if I don't stand for God and good and what's right, and what chance do our children have? What chance? So, but all heroes. And I've watched it. There's one little Marine brother. When I go there, he remembers me, and I don't go every month. They go every month. And he came running up to me. And when I first met him, his skull had gotten blown off, but he was still alive. And so they made a mosaic out of these tiles and recreated his skull. So he had gone through a series of operations from the time I met him to the time I saw him again. He looked like a totally new man. And I was like, brother. He goes, I only have a few more operations to go. Can you believe that? People are worried about, stupid stuff. I mean, even I get mad if somebody tells me I can't feed a nut to a squirrel, so, and yet this young man who remembered that I was a Marine sister from the last time I had visited, just, just amazing, amazing. But, we stand here today for the people of this country. and now even the people of the world, because we're all in this together right now.
Yeah.
They've included us all. So, but with all that said, though, I'd love for you to share. I mean, to me, you're a hero, and I just would love for you to share your story. Let people know that, I always say you got to have stamina for the win. You just have to. And I love what you wrote, tragedy to triumph. And so I'd love for people to see just what it takes to really succeed in a situation where it feels like everything's lost. Not that we don't have those thoughts. I begged God to take my life when I couldn't, my legs didn't work, and he had other things to do with me. So I went through it, and here you sit today to be a truth teller and an encourager and an inspiration. So again, I thank you for your service, and I would love for you to tell your story. So be free. You can talk as long as you want.
Okay. All right. So, thinking about some of the things you just said also, in the last 20 plus years, our world has experienced a lot.
Yeah,
Specifically, 20 years ago, coming up here in a few days is going to be the memorial anniversary of 9/11, 2001.
right.
And that honestly, that's where my journey essentially began as a service member. Shortly after that. But I mean, overall, you think about all the things that our world has been challenged with and faced with. We've had so many hurricanes and
Yeah,
volcanoes, and I mean, all these different things happening. And, the world is so much smaller now because we have so much media and social media and ways of communicating and sharing these stories almost in real time fashion. So,
yeah,
the world knows what's happening as it's happening in many cases.
yeah,
Now, 9/11, 2001, I think that was a lot different than, natural disasters for the simple fact that, yes, it was a very malicious attack. But I mean, we lost almost 4,000 innocent lives
yeah,
in a matter of hours.
right.
And I mean, this affected the entire world. It was almost like the world stopped.
Yeah,
I remember I was working as a land surveyor at the time. I was an apprentice land surveyor, and it was my first time leading the crew out on a big track. And we had four wheelers, GPS equipment, and all this stuff, right? So we
right,
were
right,
going out on this big ranch to survey it. I mean, I guess they were getting ready to either section it out or sell it or whatever the case was. Well, we get out there on the ranch, and I can't get the GPS to work. And,
mm,
of course, this was before everybody had a cell phone, or at least fancy cell phones like we do now. So, the news that we didn't get any news out there on what was happening.
right,
And we wasn't listening to the radio on the pickup. Most of the time we usually talked and, that sort of thing. But anyway, I can't get the GPS to load. It's not finding any satellites. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I broke the GPS. I'm like, what the hell? And this
mm,
is my first day being the boss, and I felt horrible. Well, I messed with it for another hour, hour and a half. I tried to do everything. I'm looking at the manual. Well, finally, I realized I'm gonna have to go back to town and tell my boss something's wrong. Well, as I get back, I walk into the office, and the crew's, waiting to find out what's going on, and see if we can get the GPS fixed. And my boss is sitting there watching TV, and it's the news, and I didn't know it was the news because all I see is, the Twin Towers in New York. One of them's smoking and on fire, and then the other one, I'm looking at it and I go, "What is this?" I said, "Is this a movie or something?" And I started getting chills, because it didn't
right,
feel like a TV show. And
right,
he just looked at me and he said, "Shilo," he said, "We're under attack." And I was like, "What?" And then we just happened to be looking at TV together, and he goes, "Oh my God, there's another one." And about that time, that other plane slammed into the second tower, and I was like, "What in the hell is going on?"
right.
And he said, "Shilo, our nation is under attack. They just flew planes into the Twin Towers in New York, the World Trade Center." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And I started getting sick, my stomach, nauseous. I felt like I needed to do something, but I didn't know what to do. I
Yeah,
felt like I was kind of helpless at that moment.
mhm,
And he said, "Just go tell everybody to go home, be with their families until we know more." And
Right.
so that's what we all did. Everybody dispersed, went home, and we stayed in touch. We're calling each other, going, "Oh my gosh, you watching this?" And of course, my wife at the time, me and her were, just really struck, like, what are we gonna do? Well, a couple of weeks later, as the story's developing, I decided I got to join the military. But the trick was that I was 27 years old. I wanted to join when I was much younger, but I screwed it up. I was a young, dumb teen.
Mhm.
I had, drank, I smoked, did all these things. I got into a little bit of trouble, and I didn't know if I could join the military,
Mhm.
especially at 27 years old.
Right.
I went down to the recruiting station, and one of the recruiters, he realized that this was something I really wanted to do. And of course, at that time, they were looking for people to fill the ranks because they know they're going somewhere.
Right.
And so, I think it was kind of a win-win opportunity for me. But, at this point in my life, I had already started making changes for the better. I wasn't drinking all the time. I wasn't going out and carrying on. I was really trying to take care of my family. So, I knew where I was going. I knew what was happening. And the recruiter, he's like, "We'll get you in." Fortunate, thank goodness, and I still say that I'm still very blessed to have had this opportunity. But I served in the military, knowing full well where I was going. I wanted combat arms, and I did. I went to Germany for my first duty station.
Mhm.
My daughter was born in Germany. It was amazing. I went on my first deployment to Iraq, and it was primarily around Baghdad. Well, I take that back. I'm so sorry. My first deployment was up around Tikrit and Samarra, which was kind of up above Baghdad, just a little bit north of Baghdad. Very volatile up there, and it was a lot. That first deployment was all about kicking in doors and arresting bad guys, and real high speed. Kind of what I imagined. The
Right.
military being like.
Right.
That
Right. Like a movie.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
but I grew up on my dad and my grandfather's stories. My
Mhm.
dad didn't talk about Vietnam very much, but my
Mhm.
grandfather, he talked about Korea and World War II a little bit,
Mhm.
and he just mostly talked about, I wanna say, the good stuff, the camaraderie, and
Right.
how the guys had to take care of their weapons and their gear all the time, and, I don't think my dad's experience was as good because, there was, so much controversy with the Vietnam War in that era, uh, you know, not judging one way or the other, but those Vietnam veterans paid a huge price for
Boy,
all
did they.
veterans.
Yeah.
They did.
I
And
I know
so,
a lot of them who have really severe PTSD from what they've seen. Yeah. And been through, and
I,
Agent
I was
Orange. Yeah.
I met a Vietnam veteran not too long ago. He was on a retreat with my wife and I, him and his wife,
Mhm.
and he talked about his service in Vietnam, and he said that he loved being a soldier,
Mhm.
and he went over there, and he actually said that he comes to like the Vietnamese people. He said when it was over and he was headed home, he had changed into his civilian clothes because they told him to change into civilian clothes to make sure that, they didn't get ridiculed or something like that. And anyway, he got on the plane, headed back home to California, and he said that there was this guy come up to him and was like all nice and kind to him, and was like, "Hey, are you a service member? Did you serve in the military?" And he felt, kind of warm about it, and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I served." And anyway, the guy turned around and addressed the whole plane and was like, "Hey, everybody, we got a baby killer on the plane."
Oh my goodness.
And anyway, he said that moment right there scarred him more than any amount of combat that he had seen,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
PTSD.
he was just trying to come home,
Right.
and he couldn't even be welcomed home properly.
That's heartbreaking to me.
And so, this generation of veterans right now, we're all very fortunate. Desert Storm, you know, they uh, they didn't get a bad welcome, but I don't think they got the welcome quite like we did, for what we've been faced with over the last, 20 years or so.
Exactly.
But the point is that we're still very blessed as a
Yeah.
veteran population, and can we be more blessed? Maybe. Fortunately, there's a lot of nonprofits like DAV. There's organizations out there that help fill in the cracks, and I
Right.
could be on that soapbox all day, but we'll get back to the story.
Yeah.
But anybody that is out there running a nonprofit, 501c3 that's designed to help veterans and or people that are suffering, I commend them. You know, I know it's a big pool of people right now that are trying to pull funds from a lot of private donors, and good luck with that. And I wish your programs luck.
Right.
I've been very blessed in my recovery to have that experience. With a lot of these 501(c)(3)s, and I've met some good ones and some bad
Right.
ones. But I try to put my brand on the good ones. But anyway, so that first deployment was great. Yes, to in a degree, I learned a lot, seen a
Right.
lot, changed me. I remember
Mm.
deploying with a bunch of boys and young men and women,
Yeah.
and then we came back all a lot older, a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
more seasoned.
Yes. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of age on those
Mm.
young men and women.
Yeah. Changes
So,
you. Yeah.
and I said boys in the beginning for the simple fact that at my time at that time, our particular MOS, it was all guys. We didn't have any females except for one female, and she was a turret mechanic because we were mechanized. We were on tanks and Bradleys, and then of course we had a few people on base like that. A few of the officers and stuff. But for the most part, it was all a bunch of guys out there.
Right.
And if anybody's seen a female, sometimes it's like they had never seen one before. I was like, "Hey, calm down."
Uh, that's the truth. I remember looking out the window and there'd be all guys down there. You want to come out? Yeah, I'm going
Uh,
and polishing my boots.
but for the
That's
most
funny.
part, I served with a bunch of great, great people, man. They were all just wonderful people. But yeah, the second deployment, it was after Germany. As soon as I got back to Germany, we pretty much packed up and went to Fort Drum, New York. I deployed with the 10th Mountain Division. The first one was the 1st Infantry Division, and my second deployment was the 10th Mountain Division. And again, combat, kicking indoors, but you
Right.
could already see the tempo changing
Mm.
because of the political training. They're trying to let the Iraqi government take over their own stuff. They're trying to let the military take over their own
Yeah.
assets and trying to run missions. And so, we were working more towards a support role. And something that was really encouraging to me was being able to see both sides of it.
Right.
Those kicking indoors and arresting bad guys was awesome.
Right.
But being able to deliver school supplies to a school that didn't have much or anything other than, a building and a teacher
Right.
was really empowering as well.
Wow.
I mean, it was kind of fulfilling for me because I have children. In fact, my wife now and we have 7 children altogether.
Oh my
Fortunately, most of them are grown.
Thank God.
But is it having kids and then watching how some of those children did with so little, and
Mhm.
being able to go take school supplies or clothes or things that were donated from the United States out there to these communities was amazing.
Right.
Kind of brought it full circle. But unfortunately, it's still a combat zone, so we
Right.
had to be really careful. We always had to be on our toes, and we did get shot at a lot. We still
Right.
had IEDs going off. Um, After a little while, I worked in Baghdad for quite a while, doing like uh, just making sure that the communities right next to the base and
Right.
around the Baghdad International Airport were safe. We would go in there and just visit with people, find out how they felt about it. So we're
Right.
running close missions. Well, after we did that for a little while, we decided to move out, and we took over an area uh, over by Yusufia and Mahmudia. All
Mm.
of the roads were named after heavy metal bands like Iron Maiden, Metallica, Pantera, Megadeth, all these heavy metal bands,
Yeah.
because those roads were riddled with IEDs.
Oh,
Some of
wow.
them had IEDs every 20 to 50 meters all the way down the road. There were holes in the roads that you could fit a car
Wow.
in. I mean, it was unbelievable. So all of them were named after heavy metal bands, rightfully so,
Right.
because that's how they seen it. There's a lot of heavy metal going on out.
Right. Exactly. Mm.
Well, on February 19th, 2007, we were out there working, just trying to build rapport, trying to find out who the bad guys were, trying to help the community thrive. And we got a call to investigate a possible IED. And generally, what that means is we have to go and secure that site as safely, quickly as possible. As we're driving over there, my Humvee, third truck in the convoy, was hit with an IED, roadside bomb, It was estimated to be about 700 pounds of explosives buried in the road.
Wow.
Needless to say, it shredded my Humvee.
Yeah.
It blew 3 of the 4 Humvee doors off. The entire roof, back hatch was blown off of it.
Right.
I lost 3 friends that day.
Wow. People don't understand that. Yeah. That's painful.
I lost 3 friends. My driver and I were injured. Fortunately, we survived. Both of us survived. Uh, but yeah, it was obviously,
Yeah,
you
I'm
know,
sorry you had to go through that. Yeah.
yeah. Originally, I remember I was knocked unconscious for a little bit, and I don't remember the initial blast. All I remember is waking up to the aftermath. And when I woke up, they had already come and retrieved the driver because he was awake. And to
Mm.
hear him describe the sound that that IED made, he said something like the hounds of hell or something. Anyway, I'd have to refresh, but it's in the book. And when he was telling me that, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get that. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's really good. But anyway, uh, but yeah, so I woke up and I remember looking around and it's like everything was kind of hazy. I remember it felt like I was looking through straws almost. And so I
Oh,
knew I was hurt or I had taken a hit. I just didn't know how bad injured I was.
right.
I started trying to kick myself out of the Humvee. My door was the only door left on the Humvee, and it was embedded in all that dirt and asphalt from the blast. And finally, I kicked myself out. However that happened, thank God. But anyway, I get out and I'm standing there and I'm looking at everybody and I can see that they're taking care of my driver Adam, which is a big guy. He's kind of fighting them, and I just start barking orders. Well, when I start barking orders, because I see some people over there looking around, I see other people over here not doing much. I start telling everybody, "Hey, start doing this, start doing that,"
Right.
and everybody just stops and they look at me. And I'm sure now it's because of the way I looked. I mean, I'm sure that I was
Yeah.
obviously burned really bad, but I know too my uniform, especially this right arm,
Yeah.
was my uniform was melted into my skin.
Oh,
And
wow.
in fact, when I started pushing on my door, that's when I realized that there was something wrong. And I looked and kept thinking, I was like, man, it's gotta hurt. But it
Mm.
wasn't hurting yet. So anyway, like I said, I got out and now everybody's staring at me. Well, now I start, really barking orders. Well,
Right.
then all of a sudden I see my buddy over there waving at me. He's trying to get me to walk towards him. Now I didn't know what I could see his mouth moving, but I didn't hear anything. I couldn't hear anything.
Mm.
And everything was kind of muffled. Well, anyway, I looked down and I felt my leg burn. And I got distracted because, I felt my leg burning. And when I looked down, the flames licked me in the face, but my body armor was on fire. And
Oh,
I took my body armor off, get the fire put out, and I looked back over to see what my buddy was waving at me about earlier to see if something had changed. Well, about that time, he grabs me from behind. He comes all the way around and grabs me and just starts running with me to get me away from that Humvee.
wow.
Now, when our bodies connected, my ears popped like an altitude change kind of pop.
Yeah.
And it's like I could hear, and all of a sudden I heard this pop and a zing, pop and a
Mm.
zing.
Oh,
Bullets had been flying all around me, and I didn't know it up to this point. And that's
wow.
why he was trying to get me to come to him. He was trying to get me away from my Humvee. Well, of course, my first thought was, so they're shooting at us now,
Right.
but what was actually happening is all the bullets inside my Humvee were cooking off. Those cans of ammo, like bullet after bullet, and 50 cal, 240. I mean, you name it. So anyway, they get me over there and they lay me on the ground, and by now my body is starting to react to my injuries. And I
Yeah.
don't know how bad it is still, but I know I'm really uncomfortable. I can
Mm.
start feeling the pain seeping in on me,
Mm.
and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to panic, but I'm still keeping cool. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. My roommate comes over, and he was actually the platoon sergeant for that day. He comes over and he's looking down on me, and he's talking to me, and I know our conversation was probably pretty colorful. I don't even really remember all the context, but I remember at one point I was kind of jokingly, I said, "Hey, man," I said, "am I gonna have to pay for that Humvee?" I was like, "Because I don't make that much money right now." And
That's
anyway,
horrible.
that's part of my coping mechanism, I guess, by trying to
Mm,
use humor.
mine
And
too.
anyway, he was like, "I don't know, man. I don't know."
Mm,
All of a sudden, everything went away because, oh, excuse me,
no problem.
I got a glimpse of my reflection in his glasses.
Oh,
And I could see that my face was just charred black. My hair was gone. My nose was pretty much completely gone.
mm,
I had blood running out of everything, my eyes, my nose, my mouth. And I remember thinking, that can't be me.
mm,
Well, now, I start working my way towards shock. And,
right,
as well as anybody, shock can kill.
right.
And I think this is where maybe my age had played a role in me being able to calm myself down. Like I said before, I was kind of panicking, but I
Yeah.
started trying to assess. And well, now I'm like, oh no, I'm really hurt. I'm really hurt.
Mm,
Well, they started pushing him away. They realized that I'm reacting somehow. Why they don't know. But anyway, I said they push him away, and I start trying to calm myself back down. I have my moment of
yeah,
fear. Well,
right.
then I remember, I remember this arm, of course, and I kind of reevaluated it. I'm looking at my hands, and then I remember looking over here at my left hand, and it looked bad. Of course, I didn't. My fingers weren't gone then, but they were burnt really bad. My gloves were kind of melted into my skin, and I remember thinking, jokingly, as that coping mechanism, I was like, man, I better get a day off from this because you
Yeah,
don't get a lot of days off in combat,
right. You
you
got that
know.
right.
So, and anyway, so I'm like, I'm feeling a little bit better. Well, then I look over my driver, he's beside me, and we start talking to each other. I'm like, okay, where's everybody at? And he goes, I don't know, Sergeant, I don't know. I'm like, come on, man. I said, think about it. Where's our guys? Have you seen them? Have you seen Sean? Have you seen Bo? Where's everybody at? And he's like, I don't know. And he's freaking out. We hear the helicopter coming in, and we get on the helicopter. Unfortunately, they get us to the green zone, and I mean, everything just happened. I
Right.
mean, you could tell God was there.
Yes.
Everybody was trained so well. We were a great team, and I wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for those soldiers on the ground that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, last thing I remember is laying in there in the OR. They're cutting my clothes off and starting to scrub me up. They're getting IVs in me and all this stuff, and nobody had made eye contact with me, which was kind of creepy. But I know why they were doing it, but nobody made eye contact. I remember I was looking around, laying, and everybody's just like, you know, doing their thing. And I look up, and there's this doctor like straight up above me, and I'm like, "Please, sir, please tell me where my friends are."
Mm,
And he said, "You'll find out in a couple months." At that moment, I was medically induced into a coma that I spent the next 48 days in.
wow.
I had no recollection. I mean, when he said that, I had no idea what the hell that meant. I was like, "You'll find out in a couple months." I'm like, dude, why can't I find out now? I'm like,
Right. Just
where
tell
am I
me.
going?
Doggone it. Right.
But yeah,
Oh,
I was induced in that coma, and I had surgeries throughout that time frame. And since they induce burn survivors into a coma because the pain is so extreme that a lot of time the painkillers that they would have to give you would do
yeah.
more damage to your body
Right. Yeah.
than actually just putting you to sleep and letting you stay asleep throughout
Right.
the majority of it.
I think that's wise.
Uh, yeah.
Did
So
you have a near-death experience during that time, or any kind of spiritual experience
yeah,
during
it's
that?
funny you say that. Because yeah, I did. It was. I'm right now. I'm in religious studies at University of Incarnate Word here in San Antonio,
Wow.
and I decided. You got to think. I got injured in 2007.
Mhm.
That's been a little while. What was that 15 years or more? About 15 years. Anyway, so it is when I was in that coma. It was almost like I was awake too, and believe it or not, in some of the classes that I've been in, we've had these conversations. Taking religious classes and philosophy and all these different things.
Right.
And anyway, so it's kind of it's become more relevant in my life here recently. But when I was in that coma, it was almost like living in an alternate reality. But
Mhm.
that reality was dark and scary and painful. It
Mhm.
was like I could hear my loved ones' voices. I could almost see them, but I
Right.
couldn't touch them. I couldn't communicate with them. I couldn't
Right.
tell them what I needed or how I felt. And it was probably about as close to hell as I ever want to be.
Mm.
And, and I realized when I came out of that, and, and I was going through my recovery, I was like, I need to know God more. I
Yeah.
want to know religion more.
Mhm.
And so, as I decided that, that I think that one of the biggest factors that helped me get through this journey was faith. And,
Yes.
and I'm not here to necessarily push Christianity on somebody that has another faith. What I'm here to do is I'm going to say that whatever your faith is, that faith can get you through your darkest days.
Mm.
I'm not your judge, so, it's like I said, I'm just here to share the word.
Mm.
Yes, God, my God, help me through my time. If your
Yeah.
God can help you through your time, then that's what you need to do. If you're not a Christian, or if you don't have faith in general, you might want to find something just in case. I don't know. And I say that kind of jokingly as well, because we had a very open atheist in our team. And anyway, we would usually have group prayer before we would go out, because again, it was extremely hostile in those areas. And
Yeah.
me as a Christian, I just thought, I say, hey, I'm going to pray. You guys are welcome to join me. And you
Right.
know what? Even the guy that didn't necessarily believe in God would sometimes join us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he would always say, "It can't hurt." And I'm like,
Right.
"You're absolutely
That's
right. It can't hurt."
yeah. And I always tell people, ultimately, like people we have to stop judging each other because, what we're looking for, what God's looking for with us is a relationship. Our Father God created us to be in relationship. Adam was in relationship face to face in the garden. That was destroyed. And then he sent Christ to reestablish our face to face with him. Jesus said, what you see of me, I'm doing of the Father. Let them love you and like we love each other and all that. So we go to him through Christ. So we believe that. Now, when people aren't taught that, their faith, what they know of God, I don't care what, if I told you the sky was orange every day, you'd believe the sky was orange. So if they have another name for the one supreme being, the all sovereign God, stop judging them. Just let them seek with all their heart and soul, and they'll find God. They'll find him. And we serve the Lord Jesus Christ and his sacrifice for us on the cross. But there's angels that are like, I believe there were angels protecting you when you were standing there and couldn't hear anything. You know, it's just an amazing thing. But you're absolutely right. I mean, without that supernatural understanding that we are connected to God, our source of life,
Yeah.
and that when you're at your worst point, if you can just hold on to that, it'll help you through. Like I said, I begged for death. My
Yeah.
legs weren't working. I was in such. They had me on a Dilaudid drip for 6 weeks. I mean, uh, it was bad. And then they'd say, you need to get up and walk now. And the nurse stood me up and my legs didn't work and I just fell to the ground. And I'm like, I told you, I said, I'm a Marine. If I could do this, I'd walk around the building 10 times. I was so mad at the doctor. But yeah, you know that feeling, what it's like. So we give all
And
glory.
that's it. I'm gonna say, again, I'm very fortunate that I've been welcomed home so well.
Yeah.
I didn't have to experience people coming up and telling me bad things. And they're, you know, even if they don't believe in war and they don't believe in the things that we were doing, while we were over there, that still doesn't necessarily give them the right to come up and judge us,
That's
because
right.
they don't know our hearts. I didn't join the military to hurt people. I joined the military to protect my nation and protect my
Right.
family
Me
from
too.
bad people.
Me too.
Sometimes you need to train your own wolves to fight
Right.
those wolves. You know what I
That's
mean? And
There's a
I'm just gonna
time
say
for
I
war.
consider myself a wolf, a good wolf, a good
Yeah.
trained wolf.
Yeah. I'm a warrior and I'm proud of it. Just deal with me. If you don't want to deal with me, go somewhere else. So, but because I'm not going to change that. And there's a time and a season for war. And even, so those people who follow Jesus Christ, follow the Father, There was a time in the Old Testament where David would ask, should I go to war today? There is a time we have to fight what's evil, and one of the wars that I'm trying to fight now, on top of helping veterans, is protecting children from these predators that are out there that are gathered under evil titles, and they're everywhere. And, so that's a war we're fighting too. And America's at war right now. And I was in during the Cold War. They don't consider a lot of people in the Cold War veterans of war. But, this is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen outside of, the Connecticut being there like you were. This is a sneaky little covert, really, it's creepy. It's creepy. And you have to have such great discernment to tell what's truth, what's not truth. What I'm looking at, it looks like it's real, but is it real? Because now they can take my mouth and make me say stuff that I'm not saying. They control my phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what's real? What's real? So we have to know the source of truth, which is God Almighty and Jesus Christ. He's the way, the truth, and the life. And be really in tune with our faith to know, because this is crazy. But I don't want to get off on that. I'm going to share your book in a second. I'm going to put it up while you're talking, but I want you to continue your story. Do you remember where you were?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I
All
got
right.
blown up. No, no, we had just finished talking about the coma, and anyway, but yeah, when I did come out of the coma, it wasn't like a light switch, like, oh, hey, I'm awake. Now I know where I'm at. I know what time it is. I know the day. I had no idea everything that I had been through up to that point.
Right.
And actually, yeah, there's the one on Amazon, but if anybody wants a signed copy, they can go to my website.
Okay.
It's either Shilo Harris, yeah, ShiloHarris.com, and they can order a book. And we have coins also, little military challenge coins.
Oh, I'll have to
Yeah.
go, because I ordered your book, and yeah, but I'll go there too myself. But go ahead now. You can, let's see. All right.
Anyway, but yeah, so when I came out of the coma, there
Mhm.
was still a lot of, I guess you could say, uncertainty about where I was,
Yeah.
where I was physically, mentally, emotionally, because I was still so heavily medicated that
Mm.
I don't really remember a start point, but I remember a cornerstone, I guess you could say, in my recovery, because all the other stuff was kind of jumbled up and without a timeline. But the one cornerstone that I used to measure my progress was the day that they came into my room and they said, Sergeant Harris, today we want you to take 10 steps. And I was
Mm.
thinking, 10 steps. I was like, man, I do 25-mile ruck marches. I'm going to own this hospital. And I
Right.
was telling myself that in my head because really and truly, I had no idea how injured I was.
Right.
Well,
Right.
all I had known is that I'd just been laying in bed watching TV. They'd take me, go get cleaned up, was not pleasant. But, is that I didn't really fathom how injured I potentially was.
Right.
And
Yeah.
anyway, so I was like, yeah, sure. Just getting out of bed was excruciating. Now, I want to pause right there for just a second and go back and talk about faith. Faith can
Mhm.
get you so far,
Right.
but at some point, you have to do the work.
Right. You have to put the
And that's
action.
where I just found myself.
Mhm.
I had a lot of conversations about faith before I tried to take that first step.
Mm.
And again, maybe faith giving me a little bit of overconfidence, like, oh, yeah, I got this. God's got me.
Mhm.
God's not saying he's going to give you a hot dog if you hide in the closet all day hungry. Well, I'm saying if you want a hot dog, you need to get a job, get a paycheck, go buy you hot dogs, cook you hot dog. That's usually how most hot dogs get found.
Right. Right.
In this particular case, they needed me to take 10 steps
Yeah.
and I could barely get out of bed.
Mhm.
I took 3 little tiny shuffles
Mm.
and I was completely wiped out.
Mhm.
And I remember laying back down in that bed feeling defeated. And I was thinking, I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. I don't want to do this.
Right.
It's too painful. It's too hard. And I tried to quit right there. And I guess
Mhm.
in a way I did. About
Mm.
3 or 4 days went by like that, where I was in this self-pity, self-loathing phase. And then my dad came into the hospital room and he just stood at the end of the bed with his arms crossed, just looking at me. And my daddy had like these really cold blue eyes
Mm.
and a kind of short, stocky, blonde headed guy. And he just stood there looking at me. And I was like, yes, dad. Being kind of cocky because I knew he had something to say.
Right.
And he just looked at me and he said, are you done, soldier?
Mm.
And I was like, excuse me? And he said, are you done, soldier? Took a minute for that to come over me. I had chills. I get chills now just
Mm.
listening to him, hearing him. I could still hear his voice saying it.
Mhm.
And I said, no, sir, I'm not. He said, then get your ass up and start doing the work that you have to do. And turned around and walked out of the room. And I was left there with my thoughts.
Wow.
And my mom came in a little bit later and she was like, hey, they're going to come do physical therapy today. You think you can do it? And I said, yeah, I think we're going to have to do it.
What's your
I did.
choice?
I really just had to change my mindset
Mhm.
from I'm defeated
Mhm.
to I'm never going to get any better than this if I don't start doing the work.
Right.
And look at me today. I mean, honestly, I go jogging, I work out, I go to the gym. You would have never made me believe within that year of my recovery that I'd be as capable as I am today,
Yeah, God bless.
mentally, physically, emotionally, you
Mhm.
know, but it has been a lot of work over a
Yeah.
lot of years.
Mm.
It did not come easy,
Right.
but those things that are most precious in life are
Mhm.
rarely easy to come by.
That's the truth.
It's like family and love and relationships.
Mhm.
These things take work every day.
Every
I've
day.
been very blessed in my recovery. I turned those 3 steps into the 10 and then 50 and then so on. And here I am again. I'm very blessed. I remember another cornerstone though is I hit a wall, physically. It was like, once I got to where I was doing these physical activities and starting to feel good, I kind of hit this wall where it was like, okay, that's about as far as you can go today.
Right.
And I remember feeling like this, just all these emotions coming out, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be any better than this. And then I realized there was another statement that I had to stop telling myself. Don't use definitives. Don't say never, just take the good with the bad.
Right.
And, even today, it's like, you have limitations. I
Mhm.
have limitations.
Mhm.
People that haven't ever been injured have limitations.
Right.
You have to live to learn within your limits, but try to push those limits each day. Try to
Right.
become a better person each and every day.
Right. Mhm.
And that's what I've done. It's like working out, I can lift weights now, but you know what I had to lift before? The milk jug. As I'd go to the kitchen, I'd get the milk jug and then I'd do like 3 or 4 curls with it and then switch hands and do you know, and people need to understand that. And you reminded me of a scripture where it says, life and death are in the power of the tongue, choose life. And we have to remember what we say over ourselves or what we meditate on and think in our brain is what we convince ourselves of. So, I know exactly what you're saying when you talk about, I have to change how I'm thinking about this. Like I said, I laid in that bed with useless legs and a back that was just when I first came out of the second surgery, it was like a basketball on my back, so I couldn't even lay and I Oh,
couldn't move. So they took me in a wheelchair and laid me on a bed, and I was stuck in that position. And I was like, when is somebody going to come help me? And they were switching shifts, so I was in that position for. And I remember thinking, what is this? Like, what good am I? Going from this aggressive, graduated with honors out of schools and boot camp, and to this, I'm just laying there, and I can't even move by myself, can't go to the bathroom. So just so begging God, just take me out of here. What's the point? What's the point? But you see, we endured and we learned how to change our thought, and we learned how to speak the right words over ourselves, and now we can help others. So it's because it's not always about just us, it's about the others that we can reach now to inspire and to show Christ, if they don't know him, that there's hope, to that we're not in this earth all alone. We have each other, we have a God who loves us, and man, I'll tell you, but life and death are in the power of the tongue. So I hope people really are careful over what they speak over themselves. We want life.
So, oh, I was going to tell you too. I forgot to mention. I said we were working on a movie. So
Yeah.
a few years ago, and COVID kind of put a kink in our plans. We were supposed to shoot the film like 2 years ago, but
Oh, man.
4 years ago we shot a short film that's about 12 minutes or so, and it's on Amazon also.
Oh, wow.
Tentatively, it's called Shilo, but I think people can rent it. But anyway, it's
Yeah.
just a short film that we were using to promote the feature film. And
Wow.
anyway, a lot of people have really just people love it, and they've been giving me calls. I'm like, oh my gosh, when are you gonna make the movie? And I'm like, I don't know, we're trying. It's like
Oh, man.
COVID kind of put a kink in it and slowed it down for us. But we're still working on it. And then of course, the director, me and him, I was like, we'll come back to the idea a little bit, and then he'll
Yeah.
be on a project or I'll be on a project. And I'm like, I know. I said, we just need to pick a date and then come together.
Do
And he
it.
goes,
Right.
yes, I know. But both of us been trying to make a living, and it is what it is. But I've really been focused on school. I've been loving it. Oh, did you find it? Did you find the short film?
And I was waiting. Let me see. Yeah, because I wanted to share that. You said it was on Amazon?
Yeah, it should. Yeah, it should be on Amazon, the Prime Video.
Okay, let me find that. Because if you want, we could try to. Um, I keep getting these little notices. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? No, I want to do what I'm doing.
So yeah,
But
and honestly, I didn't plan on being a motivational speaker. I didn't plan on being an author. I really feel like these were things that just happened by divine intervention, so to speak. You
yeah,
know,
let me
being on
see.
stage,
Yeah.
I accidentally ended up on stage one day, and that's
Oh,
no
really?
joke.
Huh.
I was walking around the hospital, and again, I said I was heavily medicated there for a long time.
Right.
I remember
Yeah.
walking around the hospital, and I walked into this room, and then boom, all of a sudden, I'm like in front of a bunch of people, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I was looking for my doctor's office. I was like, am I in the right place? And then the lady looks at me, thought I was joking, and she said, are you our guest speaker? And I said, no, but I can be, kind of joking around. And anyway, she's like, well, great. Do you have some time? And I was like, yeah, well, I guess I do have a little bit of time. Sure. What do y'all want to know? And they asked me some questions, and it just came out kind of like our interview today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Just
was
relax.
open, I was funny, I was friendly. Well,
Good.
then
Yeah.
two people in the audience came up to me and said, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep,
So they came up to you and said, what'd they say?
yep.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching this.
Oh
I
yeah.
just,
I thought it turned out really well.
yeah.
But the everybody in the film pretty much donated their time because they believed in the project. And
Wow.
that was basically what happened a couple years ago is we had everybody come together and we were ready to make this film,
Yeah.
and we had the funding, we had everything ready. And
Right.
then that was literally 2 weeks before they shut the nation down. What was
Wow.
it, 2019, I guess? And we
Yeah.
were like, ah, damn, well, a lot of the people that, was willing to volunteer
Right.
said, well, maybe we want to hold back for right now.
Uh,
So anyway, we've just been having a hard time getting everybody together. But
I hope they do it because I mean, just from the little clip, I can't wait to see it.
it,
It
it,
probably,
turned, it turned out
yeah,
really well.
yeah,
It turned out really well.
good,
And
good.
again, a lot of divine intervention there. A lot of divine intervention in my life. And again,
Yeah,
I'm so blessed. I keep saying
yeah,
that because I mean it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, God is with you. And people think, how could you say you're blessed when you've been through so much? If I told you my whole life story, you'd sit here and go, "What?" You know, I wouldn't, yeah, because I've suffered a lot, even from a 5-year-old child up. And 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 I had a great mom who worked hard for us, but we had people who came in the family who were pedophiles and different things that happened. And it's been a rough life, but it made me tough. It made me the Marine that I am today in the spirit, because even though once a Marine, always a Marine, so I'm in the spirit realm, I have that same fight. And when I see the evils of things that go on, I realize, one day I was eating and my nephews were like, Aunt Jody, you are so badass, that's what they, and so, because they were asking me about, the stories and stuff. And yeah, if I ever told you everything, you'd be blown away. But, and I
Maybe
sat,
we should, maybe one of these days we should talk in private about all those
yeah,
things.
yeah, I would love that. Yeah, definitely.
And then we'll decide
And,
what we could share.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So as I'm sitting there and the kids are going, Aunt Jody, you're badass. I'm sitting there and I went, oh, Father, you trusted me to go through every bit of this and still come out glorifying you and still have a smile on my face and still, and I'm walking, and there's a scripture, Shiloh, in the Old Testament, in Micah chapter 7, verse 8. And it's rejoice not against me, O my enemy, for when I fall, I shall arise. And when I sit in darkness, he will be a light unto me. And that scripture has held me through some stuff, I'm telling you. And, like I said, you don't get PTSD because you're having a party. But, but you sit there and you realize one day, like you're saying here, you're blessed. And you're blessed because God knows your name. He knows who you are. And there's something in people like us that have gone through these things and can still smile and stand up and say, whew, man, I'm blessed and I love God and I love serving the Lord and coming through it to him through Christ and letting people know there's hope. So like you amaze me because I just, you're such a beautiful soul and God has made you such an amazing man. And like I said, I was reading stuff from your wife and I was like, wow, no wonder, just a good team, So, oh, don't even worry. I told you we're relaxed here. So, yeah,
Oh, well, I'm here in South Texas, and right now allergies are going crazy. So we just had a little storm come through yesterday that was really nice, but
oh,
it's always stirs stuff up. So
yeah.
yeah, I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I got an allergy. So apologize.
Yeah, no problem. I love Texas. I lived there 6 years, and a lot of my dearest, closest friends are there. So, a good place to be, except for the scorpions and those wolf spiders. Everything else is great.
Texas does have a lot of blessings, and it's really good to veterans.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
lot of veterans and
yeah,
military people, retire here in Texas because of the benefits that they
yeah,
get, for being here in the state. And, it works out really good for me. And I'll be honest, so my wife and I, when we travel, we'll come to some place that was just so beautiful. And I'm like, you know what? I could wake up to that every day.
yeah.
And then, we're like, you know what? Let's go home, pack up, and we're just gonna move. And then we get home, in a couple of weeks, we're like, nah, I'm not moving. It's like I don't want to move.
Yeah, the country's beautiful, the whole country. We really are a blessed nation,
We
and we're
are.
blessed because we call God, our Lord. He is over the nation, and but I want to just say that people need to understand that 1% that joined the military. We've done it for them, and we may not be perfect. They may not understand us, you know. And we do have that, I call it morbid humor, like, do I have to pay for that truck? That's hysterical. But, I know I was a police dispatcher for a while too. So that adds to police dispatcher, and you get that morbid sense of humor. And, but it's all things that help us function in a world that most people don't understand. But one of the things you said in these other countries are human beings, children who just want to go to school, mothers who just want to love their children. Do they have the crazies who will strap a bomb to their kid and send them out to go walk near troops? They do. And
Yeah.
then what does that military guy do? The choices that are given to the people at that 1% that see that, They have no idea what they do. I like, why did the police shoot that guy? They should have shot him in the leg. Do you have any idea what kind of aim you're talking about in a fast moving situation where you're not, scoped out and all ready to fire? So this like stuff, people don't have an understanding. And I really want to bring that understanding to them. And for those of us who have been in, who've had tragedies and who have gone from tragedy to triumph, and an understanding that you are blessed because God saw something in you. And even though something was meant for evil, you've turned it to good, you know, and that that strength and that beauty within those of us who have served, I pray that we can talk to our fellow veterans or our fellow military and let them know, don't give up like your dad did, you know, made it seem cold, made it seem hard, but he was talking and what he was saying carried some weight. And so we want to say it maybe a little more gentle, you know, come on, man, you can do this, you can do it. And so that's kind of why I want to bring what I bring. So I do Christ-centered shows. I've done SRA-centered, satanic ritually abused centered shows, always bringing God glory. But I also want to bring people like us, veterans. I have another interview on Thursday with another veteran, and a very special man, same like you. He went to he put a weapon in his mouth and pulled the trigger, and he heard God speak, and the Lord said to him, "I'm not done with you yet." So there's something going on within our community. I don't think we're forgotten. So
I think that's a great final note. I think that's a
yeah.
great final note for the show is, any veteran out there right now, any service member that had served in either Iraq or Afghanistan. I know I've had several calls, usually on a daily basis about people that are upset. My
Mm,
friends calling me, thinking that their service was, not appreciated and, that their sacrifices weren't worth anything and, watching their friends get killed and anyway, the message I think to these individuals today that are faced with thinking that their youth was stolen from them is first of all, suicide is not the answer. Suicide is not going to get the message across that you think it's going to have. It's not going to have the impact that you think it'll have.
mm,
What you need to do is speak your mind, get on a platform, share your story, but know in your heart that there are grateful people in this nation for your
mm,
service and sacrifice, and know that you joined the service with the right intentions. You have to know in your heart that you did not sacrifice in vain. And
mm.
I'm just going to say, I love you. And I know that, you love them too, right,
Yes,
Jody?
yes. With all my heart, with all my heart. Yeah. It brings me to tears. And that's why I serve today. And I know you're still serving the community to inspire people. And I just want to thank you for being here. I will put all your information, links to the movie, your book, and your website underneath this video when we put it out. I'll send it to you and your wife too. And I
Oh,
just thank you. It's been such an honor to share this time with you. And I'd love to maintain the friendship. And if you have a word you want to bring sometime, come back on. The platform's open because it's for our warriors out there. So you have a free platform to speak anytime. So you just let me know. So thank you for being here. So
thank you, Maureen. Proud to
yeah,
be here.
yeah. And I hope you don't mind me always saying I love to say Semper Fi, Army guy.
There you go. I like it.
Yeah,
Simplify.
I know you guys say who
I'm a,
ya,
I'm a
right?
hua guy though. Who?
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, they always have different sounds. My son's serving right now in the UK and he's in the Air Force and I love to tease him. We go Air Force, I thought you said you were in the military.
Oh
But,
yeah, we joke. A lot of my friends around here,
yeah.
some of them are Air Force. I got a couple of Navy guys. Anyway, but yeah, the Air Force. Almost everyone. I know, I know. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, we're all on the same path now,
That's it.
But yeah, we know.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, I'll be like the only Marine in a DAV van full of Army and Air Force, and I'll go, you only need one Marine for all you guys.
Well, hey, now we got to include the Space Force, though. I'm actually
Right,
like
right,
really
right.
excited about that.
Me
I think
too.
that's super
Yeah,
cool.
I
And
think
I
that's,
was reading up on a little bit more about what they do.
yeah. Oh,
It's the direction that we're headed, man. I'm really impressed. I think they've got a
yeah.
good job ahead of them.
I'll bet they're way ahead of us, a lot further along than we think. Yeah, we know that, right?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
but yeah, but God bless you. Thank you. And we'll have you back and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for coming.